Okay, so welcome to the third session of this coaching discussion, the fifth week, and here we are going to talk about how we go about discussing the coaching issues, and then what are the tools and techniques that could be used in the coaching process, right. So, coaching analysis and discussion goes on simultaneously, right. You remember we talked about various issues related to coaching and the client, and then you have to see that the expectations are clear, commitment is there from all the parties, and the focus is very, very clear that whether it is for improving knowledge, skill, or whether it is for development, or there is it is required because of the requirement of the organization. So, once these things are identified, then we move to the next stage, and that is what we call coaching analysis or discussion. Now, when we are talking about coaching analysis and techniques, we have to see that how do we go about it. So, we start with coaching analysis, that is the first part. Okay. You remember in the previous lecture, we are talking about that how to analyze the factors which is related to poor performance or unsatisfactory performance. Now, when we are trying to identify the causes of poor performance, I said that it could be related to a number of factors, right. In the process, I also said that it could be related to the individual. Okay. So, when we are talking about unsatisfactory performance, it could be related to a number of factors, okay. Right. It could be related to lack of knowledge and skill, it could be attributed because of lack of support, resources and commitment. Okay. It could also be related to culture and leadership. It could also be related to supervisor or external factors, external economic factors. Now, you see there could be a number of factors which could be related with what you call unsatisfactory performance. Now, not necessary that in each case you are going to provide training, right. So, you need to identify what are the factors which are going to contribute to unsatisfactory performance, okay. And then depending upon the appropriate response, you are going to decide how to improve performance, right. So, if external factors are not favorable, you have to see what can be done by the organization. If supervisor is a problem, then what needs to be done, whether you are going to train the supervisor, whether you are going to change the supervisor, whether you are going to make sure that the behavior is compatible, whether and supervisor is going to provide you all the support and resources, whether the culture and leadership is favorable or not, whether there is a support, resources and commitment from the management, whether there is a lack of support lack of knowledge and skill base. So, if there is a lack of knowledge and skill base, then probably you can think about coaching, but in other cases you need to take other measures, right, to improve the performance. Now, what we are going to discuss is the steps that is done in coaching analysis. So, the first stage was to identify the unsatisfactory employee performance. So, how you identify? You look at the gap between expected performance and the actual performance, right. So, first of all you look at the gap in the expected and actual performance, and then you find out the reason. What is the reason for this gap, right, whether it is because of this external factors or internal factors or the individual factors, right. Once you are able to identify the reason, then you see whether this gap is worth investigating or putting effort and time, because again you are going to make some investments. Okay. So, the time and effort, that does it require to spend time and effort on these kind of activities, or even if it is not doing well, it is okay, right. So, you decide about this, that whether you are going to spend enough time and resources and whether it is worth doing it, because it is going to contribute to the performance significantly, right. Another issue is that you have to see whether supervisor is aware about this or not. Since supervisor is a major factor, okay, so he must be communicated about the gap in the performance again, right. So, if supervisor knows, you know what he is doing, his action to bridge the gap to start with, right. So, that is related to what you call the fourth point. Do subordinates know what is supposed to be done, okay, to bridge the gap? Okay. So, the action may be required by the supervisor or the subordinates, or they can come together to identify what needs to be done. Okay. Now, another important factors that I talked about, like external factors, culture and leadership, this factor, they are external factors. So, whether it is because of the external factors, then you have to find out something else, then coaching may not be a solution. Now, if it is because of the internal factors, then you move to the sixth point, that the subordinates know how to do what must be done, have the requisite skill or not. Right. If they have the requisite skill or there is a lack of requisite skill, then the coaching is the solution, right. So, because this gap is to be filled, okay, and then you also need to look at the negative consequences of bad performance. The negative consequences may be lack of promotion, incentives to the employees, right, all kind of things could be there, even terminations from the job if he is not able to perform well, right. So, this could be the negative consequences which will follow ineffective performance, right. Now, there could be some times you call negative consequences for effective performance. What could be the negative consequences of effective performance? Point number 7, here we have to say that negative consequences for positive performance could be that suppose this gap is not there, that could be related to the supervisor. Okay. That how supervisor is going to treat and consider you because you have been performing well, whether he is treating you as a threat for himself because your performance is good, right. What could be the positive consequences of that performance, because in that case supervisor is going to dominate you all the time. Since you are not able to perform, you cannot raise your voice, you cannot say anything to the supervisor, and he is going to dominate you all the time. He is going to coerce you, threat you, and even give you say warning that if you do not perform well, there could be negative consequences, right. And finally, you see the 8th point, that could the subordinates do it if he or she wanted to do it, whether you are able to improve it or not, whether you are given an opportunity to go for it or not. Okay. So, all these points are equally important, and that is why I said that you need to understand what do you mean by poor performance, do you really need to address it or you can let it go, and then you have to see that whether subordinates are aware that this performance is satisfactory or not, whether the seniors as supervisors know about it or not, whether it is within your control or out of control, what are the consequences, both positive and negative consequences of good performance as well as bad performance, and whether you get an opportunity to improve it or not, right. So, once this analysis is complete, look at this one by one. So, you have to identify unsatisfactory performance, decide if it is your worth, time and effort, find out if the worker knows that their work is not satisfactory, does he know what is to be done, whether they need to be coached, what are the obstacles or barrier beyond the control of the worker, because there could be external factors. Then moving to the next one, that is, does he know how to do it, what are the negative consequences effective performance or positive consequences of non-performance, both of them possible because of the culture and other issues. And then if he can he do it in a proper way or not. So, we have discussed these factors or these issues to identify the need for the coaching, right. That is the first stage in the process. Or whether you does it require restructuring of the job or the task, so that you can perform in a better way, right. What if the problem persists? Still because of that for going for restructuring or being coached, if you are still able to perform poorly, then what are the solutions that you need to look at as a supervisor, right. Moving to the discussion part, okay, because analysis and discussion goes on simultaneously. In this basically when you are going to discuss about the performance with the subordinate, okay, what are the different approaches that you are going to apply, right. So, there could be two ways, either you are going to confront with the supervisor, okay, or you are going to simply present him the information related to performance. Okay. So, if you are going to confront or present the information related to performance to the subordinates, you look at his reactions. It means that you try to get feedback from him and try to identify the reason for poor performance. Okay. Once the reasons for poor performance is identified, so you have information, okay, and then you look for a solution. You go for a resolution, that how you can work it out together with the subordinate to see that this problem does not happen again, right. So, this is one approach to look at. Then there is another approach, there is no Sforny's approach, which is a relatively better approach. It means that the most important thing is to convince employee that he has a problem with the performance, because most cases the moment you say that you have a problem with performance, he becomes defensive. He tried to attribute it to external factors, right. So, you need to give feedback in such a way, so that the employee understands that he has a problem with the performance, and once he agrees that he has a problem with the performance, the rest of the job become very easy. Then you move to the next stage to discuss what could be the various solutions of this problem, how we can solve this performance related problem, and then you develop an action plan to see that how we are going to take it up, okay. And then you take it up and then you follow it up also to see that the performance is progressing as per the action plan, and that is where you are going to monitor the progress, and once he is able to successfully perform, then you are going to recognize it, his achievements, right. It means that you are going to link it with reward and incentives, so that it is sustained. Okay. Now, what if coaching fails? What are the options that you have? It means that person is not suitable to the job what he is doing currently. So, he could be given another job in a different department, different setup, which he can do depending upon his knowledge and skill base. So, it is very important to you match his knowledge and skill base with the task that he is going to perform. So, despite coaching, if he is not able to perform well, then another option that you have, that you can transfer him to another department where you expect him to perform well depending upon his knowledge and skill base, right. If he consistently does not perform well, then you have no other option but to terminate his services, because you no longer require him, because he is not able to consistently perform well, and the coaching does not have effect. Even if he is transferred there also he is not able to do it. It means that the employee is not either interested, or he does not have the knowledge and skill, or he is not interested to improve at all. So, under those conditions you have no choice, you do not have many alternatives to have it. But if you are going for termination, make sure that you have all the documentation, because it could be a legal case and he might file a suit in a court of law, and then you are going to have a problem. So, you make sure that even after coaching effort, it has not been successful and you want to terminate the employees, you have all the documents ready at your level, so that you are not going to face any legal action, or even if there is a legal action, you are not going to be trapped by that, and that is very, very important. I know that we are living in an age of RTI. So, it is very, very important that you have all the documents ready at hand. So, that whenever there is any query under the RTI Act, you are able to communicate that to the concerned parties, and you have a valid ground and reason with the documents to support this kind of termination. Now, so far we have been talking about managing poor performance, right, but coaching is also given to manage effective performance and encourage superior performance, right. It is not only that you are going to identify gap of poor performance, those who are not able to perform well, but coaching could be offered to those who are performing well to achieve superior performance level. So, that they are able to upgrade their knowledge and skill base compared to their current skill base, through which they are able to perform well. And for that, what you need to do is you need to adopt certain strategy. Apart from providing coaching, you also make sure that if he is able to perform better than what is expected, it means that if he exceeds the performance level, right, then it is linked with suitable rewards. Okay. So, what are the other activities that can be done is that you set the goal in such a way for these people who are expected to perform better than they expected, right. So, you make sure that you are going to set goals a little higher than the average or the benchmark performance. Okay. Other things that can be done as a part of the strategy, that you are going to restructure the job in such a way, so that it facilitates effective performance. And when you are going for goal setting or restructuring the job or redesigning the job, you allow workers to participate in the process, so that he knows what are the things that is to be done, what kind of autonomy and freedom he will have, what kind of job he is going to do, how he is going to do it, what are the goals in terms of performance expectations that is to be achieved, and then you give him freedom and autonomy, that is ownership. You made him accountable and responsible for what he is doing, so that he is able to perform his job effectively, and that is how you can achieve superior performance from the people, and that requires ownership and accountability on the part of the the participants, and also giving him enough freedom and autonomy to decide what to do and how to do about it. Okay. Now, another issue that comes into the fore is that what is the how manager as a coach is going to be responsible for these kind of activities, right. So, the coach is responsible for certain things in the process, because he is going to provide the evaluation. He himself cannot evaluate, so he gets feedback. Or sometimes people talk about only the weak points, not the strong points. So, when you are going for evaluation, make sure that it is done by others. Okay. You can go for 180-degree evaluation, 360-degree evaluation based upon the requirement, and make sure that all aspects of performance is focused, not only on the weaknesses. So, you can, in that way it is going to be more and more comprehensive. Okay. Because if you are going to you are a manager and coach as well. So, you try to visualize the big picture. Performance in the context of what? In what way it is going to contribute not only to the individual performance, that is very well understood, but the performance of the department, or in what way it is going to contribute to the organizational performance. So, you have to see the big picture, okay? And then you have to see that what kind of improvements are required in systems. Okay? And the manager as such is supposed to reinforce the company values. It means what is the philosophy of the management related to performance, what is their expectations in terms of performance, that is to be reinforced to the people, so that they understand what is expected, okay, in the realm of the broader framework, because ultimately individual performance is to be linked with organizational performance, right. So, the manager, when he is going to act as a coach, has certain responsibility in terms of evaluation. Now, some of the techniques that is used in coaching include facilitation. Now, if you look at this picture, the role of the coach is to facilitate the process of learning, right. So, he is going to observe. You can find here different tables where people are working. So, he is a facilitator. So, he is doing certain things and asking people to perform certain activities, and in the process he is also trying to tell you how to do it, right. So, facilitation means that he is going to facilitate this process by creating an enabling environment, providing all kind of support that is required in the process. Second, you can see here 4 pictures, right, which are related to different kind of activities, right. Now, if you look at these pictures, you can clearly see that here the coach is going to tell you how to do it. It means that he is going to provide you a demonstration of different kind of activities, whether you are going to climb a rope or whether you are going to drive a vehicle or whether you are going to take up some other activities, right. So, if you look at these 4 examples, all of them are basically related to demonstrating certain activities that is to be taken up by the coach at a later stage. So, apart from facilitation, other things that is done by the coach is actually demonstrating what to do. And there is a model that we are going to discuss related to this, which is known as GROW model, and this GROW model basically is related to understanding the coaching process. So, GROW stands for 4 things, that is goal, current reality, options and will. Okay. So, if you look at this model, it is expected to actually raises the understanding and awareness of the people about their own expectations and inspirations, the conditions under which they are going to work, okay, possibilities and resources which are open to them, and what kind of actions they need to require in order to achieve the goals, both personal and professional goals. Now, if you look at this GROW model, it clearly says 4 things: GROW, that is related to goal, reality, wrap up, options and wrap up. So, it moves like this one in a cyclical manner, right. Now, if you look at this, 2 things that you can find out. So, it is based upon the concept of positive framing. Positive framing is that the idea is to improve, right. So, if you look at the goal, it means that the first stage you are going to see that there is agree upon objectives, okay. The goals are set and you are going to maintain goal setting using this SMART, that is specific, measurable, achievable, right, realistic and given time frame. So, first you are going to set the goal, then you go for your assessment, get feedback, then see that how you are going to look at it, test yourself, these assumptions, look at your background and then you see what are the options for you, okay. And finally, you wrap it up. You are going to commit to the actions, ensure goals are SMART, you identify your obstacles and agree upon support and then you move up. So, it is a cyclical process that goes on, which basically suggests that this kind of thing can be used in a coaching context. Because if you remember before this, when we are talking about this one, this GROW model, what we are saying that the idea is to raise the awareness of the individual and his understanding, right. What does it mean? It means that you should be aware about the goal and your reality, and then you see what are the options that you have and then how will you go about it, right. Now, if you look at this figure, this is related to a goal, right. So, for a player in a team, the goal is to make a goal, right, to win. Now, if you try to understand it from the perspective of a game, so the goal is set, okay, that what you actually want to achieve. In this process, you can say that you understand your aspirations, what you need to achieve, okay, and accordingly you are going to set goals for yourself, and that is why I am moving to this final slide. So, when you are going to set your goals and objectives, it has to be agreed upon by the coach and the coachee and the client. Okay. And this, when you are going to set the goals, it is based on certain principles. It has to be specific in terms of it achieving it. You are able to measure it in a quantitative way, that is M. A stands for it should be achievable. It means that you are not going to set your goals which are very high or very low. Okay. So, you need to benchmark it. Then it has to be realistic, that could be really achieved within a given time frame, that is the T. Okay. So, once this goal setting is done, then you move to the next stage, reality. Look at your own strength assessment in terms of your strength and weaknesses. So, why I am going to talk about self assessment, because this self assessment tells you what are your strength and weaknesses. Okay. So, you go for your own assessment, you also get feedback from others, okay, from your peers, from your co-workers, from your subordinates, from your seniors also, because they would be able to give a more comprehensive assessment about your strength and weaknesses, because your goal and reality has to be congruent with each other, because your reality is going to help you to achieve these goals. If you do not have the strength that is required in order to achieve the goal, then you need to develop it, and that is where you are going to see that what are the options for you to develop this, right, what needs to be done, right, and then there you are going getting suggestions, what are the various options to ensure that you are able to achieve this goal based on your self assessment. So, based on your self assessment and also assessment from others, you will be having a clear picture about your strength and weaknesses, and see that what needs to be done to improve upon that, so that it is going to help you to achieve your goals and objectives, right. So, you have different kind of options. So, you select the best option that is going to for you. So, once you get suggestions from your clients, okay, this is what needs to be done, this is what you need to develop in order to achieve the goals and objectives that is set, okay, you select a particular option, and this choice is on the options based upon your strength, the goals that you have achieved, and whether it is really possible to go for it or not. And finally, you are going to take it. It means, once you decide about a particular course of action in order to improve yourself, then you commit to that kind of actions, okay, and make sure that whatever you are doing is leading to the achievement of the goals and objectives. And in the process, you also need to identify what are the barriers in the process. Okay. So, make sure that there is enabling environment, and here you also need support, commitment and resources from the top management. Okay. That would help you to create those obstacles and barriers which may be there, and that is how you will be able to achieve the goals. And then ultimately, once you wrap it up, you compare it whether you have been able to achieve the goals or not. Okay. So, that is all. Thank you very much.